Thank you for joining us for Burning Bright's Business Highlights. We are pleased to be welcome here today with the co-owner and proprietor of Kreative Kage Studios, Mr. Jordan Kage.
What's going on, boss?
Thank you for joining us, sir, man. How you doing?
I'm good, bro. How are you?
Man, I'm blessed, man. Man, so yeah, I've been wanting to interview you for a moment, man. You been doing some great things for your photography. Been seeing a lot of things on Instagram, you know what I'm saying? So I really appreciate you taking this time for us to do a little deep dive into, the photography lifestyle and everything else, man. We just wanted to take a look at your business and see how everything is doing.
Cool.
Absolutely, man. So,
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you today, man?
I'm good, man.
Great. So let's just start it off, man. Why photography?
This is one of the things I kind of fell into, if I'm being honest. When I had my first daughter, I had hit up my sister and asked her, how much she spent going to Portrait Innovations, because that's where she was going at the time. Her response was something like, well, last time we spent like $350. I was like, you can buy a camera for that, right? So at the time, a good friend of mine had already kind of started in the photography realm. So I borrowed his camera. I took pictures of my daughter on Martin Luther King Boulevard. And when I posted the pictures, they just got a kind of a great response. Everybody like, well, tag your photographer, or who took these, how much you paid for this. And it kind of got me one of the things like, well, maybe I can make money off of this. And then everything just kind of aligned, From that point, I had an uncle who had a friend with a studio.
Right.
She let me shoot out of there for a very small fee. When that situation ended, my father had an empty place that I could use for a studio. So it just all kind of worked out. And,
Right.
I was fortunate enough that I didn't have to run into a lot of stuff the new photographers run into. So it kind of gave me a launch point.
Up. Yeah. That's great. How long you been doing this for? How long you been an actual photographer?
It's been 10 years.
10 years.
10 years.
Man, so I've definitely been crafting your skills and getting it down to a science and all that
For
time.
sure.
Huh? Yeah, that's amazing. Tell the people, what kind of services do you offer?
I offer anything that they'll pay for. But no, for the most part, a large part of my business is shooting people. So I kind of specialize in maternity shoots, but I also do a bunch of birthday shoots. I do some events, weddings, all that kind of stuff. So
Great.
anything that will allow me to capture your memories for you, I'm there.
Awesome. Okay, I see that. So got you. So so people can find you like when they want to book or something like that. Where do they find you at?
I'm one of the easiest people in the world to find. If you Google Jordan Kage or even Omar Jordan, which is my actual name, everything about my business should pop up within a scroll. I work very hard to ensure that. Excuse me.
Absolutely. So yeah, they should just.
So you can Google, but the easiest way is going to be to follow me on Instagram, Jordan Kage. That's where all my most current work will go. Is directly on my Instagram at Jordan Kage.
Got you.
And that's Kage with a K. Don't get it confused.
Kage with a K. Yeah,
Kage with a K.
Y'all see it.
You already know.
So walk me through what's the everyday life of a photographer? Let's say you got a couple of shoots planned for today. Like how do you approach that?
Well, I'm a family man first. So when I wake up to a house full of people. I make sure they're situated, make sure my wife don't need anything from me. In that regard, and then I usually spend the early part of my morning on the computer, whether that's editing or working on a website or anything like that. And then depending on when my first shoot is for the day, because I typically start my day, my first shoot is scheduled for 10. My latest shoot on a weekday would be scheduled for 4. And the only time I offer anything later is Saturday, which is a 5 p.m. shoot. I think it's very important that photographers or business people in general set boundaries, and that way you can have a good work-life balance. Having a house full of kids and that kind of thing.
Right.
It's important for me to be at home as much as possible, and I'm at home for dinner every day.
That's amazing. That's great. A lot of people can't say that, especially when they're owning their own business.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great. That's good.
And that's just one of them things. People always say when you start a business, you go from working 9 to 5 to working 24/7. And I just think that's ridiculous. There's no point in doing that. If that was the case, me personally, I'd rather keep the 9 to 5. I could have worked up in any
in the
I had
studio.
I had a little bit of education. I could have went and done a number of different things and made decent money with a job. The primary reason I am an entrepreneur is so that I have the freedom of time.
Right.
And if there's no, I know photographers who shoot at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. That's just not me. And hopefully it never has to be.
I hear that. All right. So, as a photographer, what's your biggest pet peeves that you have? Like when dealing with clients or dealing with environments, however.
It goes right back to time.
Timing.
The biggest issue I have with clients is people not appreciating the time of others. So showing up late, no call, no shows, texting me at the time that your shoot starts, that you're on your way, that kind of thing is it just becomes a little annoying because people expect you to accommodate them.
Right.
And it's like, well, I have another shoot right after yours, or I have to be somewhere right after yours. And photography is my primary business, but I'm also a realtor and I have other things going on.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So it's important that if you set an appointment time that you make it there on time.
100%. I greatly,
sure.
I greatly abide by that law as well. At least I try to. So, there's a lot of, young photographers or trying to be photographers, aspiring photographers out here now. What advice would you give them as you've been doing this for 10 years?
I actually give this advice often, especially during senior season. I get a lot of younger folks who talk to me about it. They want to be photographers, they want to be videographers, and they always ask me, what is it, what should they go to school for, and all that kind of thing. And I always tell them the same thing: focus on the business aspect. If you talk to any photographer, they'll tell you they know a photographer who's terrible and still making money. The business aspect is what determines your success level, unfortunately not your talent. If you can understand this business and understand the marketing of it, how to grasp the attention of your clients, how to choose the right niche or the right base, and you work those things, you'll be fine.
Wow. That's some good advice. I hope y'all pay attention to that.
Surely.
Absolutely. All right. So, can you tell me like some of the wildest shoots you'd had or experiences being a photographer without mentioning, any kind of names?
Discretion is important.
Absolutely.
Sometimes people do photo shoots just for themselves. Although the vast majority are doing it to post online, some people do stuff just for themselves. But I don't get too crazy. I'm a pretty humble guy, and I guess everyone knows that I'm happily married and all that stuff. So nothing really crazy happens. But I get my fair share of lingerie and nudes and all that. It's all pretty much the same.
Gotcha.
The crazy stuff more so comes with the negative stuff than with the day-to-day.
Gotcha. So like, is it more drama after the photo shoot? No drama like during the photo shoots? Or?
Any drama typically comes from miscommunication. With clients, a lot of people don't actually know what a photographer's job is.
Right.
So they assume that you do X, Y, and Z, and it's like, nope, just X and Y. Z has nothing to do with me. People like I said, people just don't know what the job is. I mean, in fact, even though I am a high-end retoucher, retouching isn't a part of my job. It's just that the market that we're in, most of the photographers who are doing these things are avid retouchers, so it behooves me to do the same.
Absolutely.
Whereas if you go to some of the larger markets like New York and LA, a lot of those photographers, they take the pictures, they cull the pictures, and they pass them on to their retoucher, and they walk away from them. You know what I mean? And that's where some of the outsourcing comes from. In my busy seasons, I do the same thing.
Okay.
That's what saves the time.
Nice. Little secret tips behind the scene there. I like it. So, this whole thing is me trying to highlight a lot of small business owners. So what's some of the challenges that you face as a business owner, not particularly a photographer? Just
as a business owner, I think the biggest thing that you are going to encounter is if you are not great at managing your money before you start a business, you're not going to instantly get great at managing your money once you start a business. Especially for somebody who comes from a place where money isn't abundant. you have to be cautious of overspending, of, oh, everything is unicorns and rainbows and it's going to be like this forever. Because even now in this down economy, things are extremely slow. And, you know, if it wasn't for me learning from my past mistakes, it would be definitely a struggle right now to keep my everyday life going. But it's important that you understand the finances of this. It is important that you understand the finances of this. And it's important that you do the right things with your money. Having money sitting in a savings account is never good. You always want it in some type of product that is making you more money at all times, because sitting in the bank, you're losing money technically with the current inflation rates. You just want to pay attention to those kind of things. You want to learn as much as you can, and just keep good people in your circle.
Absolutely. Wow. So 10 years in the game, what's next? What's in the future for Kreative Kage?
Less.
Less. That's funny because, you know, you hear a lot of other people say more. Hey, it's more this, more that.
I mean, there's going to be more of some things, but less of work. As I stated before, that whole 24/7 thing is crazy to me. My whole goal in all of this is the financial security and stability so that I can do what I want when I want at any given time. And as I said, I'm also a realtor, and part of me being a realtor is so I can learn the game well enough to make some investments and do the right things, and hopefully free up even more time and lessen my client list and become more of an exclusive photographer and only work with who I want to work with and shoot the things I want to shoot, just so that I can have more free time to spend with my wife and kids and that kind of thing.
Gotcha. So Kreative Kage, you actually have a whole team with you.
Absolutely.
You give them a shout out?
Oh, sure. David Cage Photography, that's my bro. Right hand, been with me since day one. He was in the trap in our studio on Wade Park, you know, tearing down walls with me. Always been by my side, man. David Cage Photography on Instagram. Then my boy RTS Visuals. RTS been rocking with us since it's been like 7 years now. We had a studio over here on Euclid Ave, and he came to us, you know, to just rent space for us, and eventually it grew into a partnership, and he helps us run this studio every day. And then, you know, my videographer, Logan Kingston, that's my guy, you know what I mean? Because I'm not touching video.
You say you know your lane.
I know my lane.
Man, well, listen, man, I really appreciate you taking this time to speak to us, man. You know, it's definitely amazing what you're doing, and we look forward to see what you're doing in the future. I know, especially with your other business aspects that you have going on, I should be interviewing you soon.
Yeah, for
wearing,
sure.
Wearing a different hat. So
For sure.
Absolutely, man. Well, thanks again for talking to us, man. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Appreciate
it,
you.
sir.
Yeah.